Across the golden grasslands of Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, the first rays of dawn kissed the earth, casting a soft glow over the mist-covered plains. Trees stood like watchful guardians, and the rustle of the wind whispered through the tall savanna grass. It was a magical hour, the kind only the wild could offer. Tabo, a young and dedicated wildlife ranger, moved through this wilderness with purpose. Every step he took was driven by a lifelong dream to protect the creatures that called the Serengeti home. Ever since he was a child, he had felt the pull of the wild in his soul. Now, that dream had a name, and it was this vast, living, breathing land. Each morning, before setting out on patrol, Tabo meticulously checked his rugged off-road vehicle. Water? Check. First aid kit? Check. Emergency medicine and tools for animal rescue? Always. He knew the terrain, but nature never sent warnings. He'd often stop to study footprints, feel the wind, listen to the distant calls of animals, and let the rhythm of the earth guide him. But one morning, something was different. As he rolled slowly along a dirt path, something caught his eye, a splash of red on the dry grass. Blood. His heart skipped. He pulled over, got out, and followed the faint trail, each step tightening the knot in his stomach. What he found stole his breath. There, entangled in a mess of barbed wire, lay a male lion. The great beast, once the proud king of the plains, now looked broken, his golden mane matted with blood, his powerful frame motionless except for shallow breaths. The barbed wire had wrapped tightly around his shoulders and back, cutting deep into his flesh. Tabo froze. The danger was real. Any wrong move, and the lion could lash out in fear or pain. But as he stepped closer, the lion merely lifted his head, locking eyes with him. In those amber eyes, Tabo didn't see anger. He saw exhaustion and trust. Dropping to his knees, Tabo opened his kit and pulled out his wire cutters. His hands trembled, not with fear, but with urgency. Sweat poured down his face as he worked, speaking softly to the lion, soothing it with his voice. The wire resisted. The lion groaned. The sun climbed higher. Time seemed to stand still. Finally, snap, the last piece of barbed wire fell away. Tabo quickly disinfected the wounds and wrapped makeshift bandages to stop the bleeding. The lion remained still, but its breathing eased. Tabo whispered, "You're free now, brave one," and gave him a name, Assani, which means brave in Swahili. Slowly, Assani rose to his feet, staggered a few steps, and turned his head. Their eyes met once more. Then, without a sound, the lion disappeared into the tall grass, leaving only shredded wire and a pool of blood behind. Weeks passed. The rhythm of the wild returned, but something had changed. On one bright afternoon, while scanning the horizon, Tabo spotted a familiar figure watching from afar. Assani. He had returned, but this time, he wasn't tangled or weak. He stood tall, strong, silent, and alert. From that day on, Assani became a ghostly shadow on Tabo's patrols, never too close, never too far. When Tabo stopped his vehicle, Assani would pause too. When Tabo walked into the bush, the lion would wait. Park rangers noticed and grew concerned, but Tabo knew the truth. Assani wasn't hunting him. He was guarding him. Their bond became the talk of the Serengeti. Visitors came hoping for a glimpse of the ranger and his lion. Some called it a miracle, others a myth. But for Tabo it was simple. Gratitude had become loyalty. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Tabo saw Assani perched atop a rocky hill, silhouetted in gold, watching. A silent sentinel, but nature, as always, had more in store. Brutal dry season descended, the rivers thinned, the grass turned to dust, and with desperation came danger. In the western region of the park, a herd of agitated elephants driven mad by thirst and hunger began rampaging, tearing down trees, smashing through camps. Tourists were evacuated. Rangers rushed to contain the chaos. In the middle of it all, Tabo got separated. Alone, stranded on a low mound with only brittle reeds around him, he watched in terror as the ground began to tremble. The elephants were coming, fast, angry, unstoppable. There was nowhere to run. Then, a roar. A thunderous, familiar roar that pierced the air. Assani. Charging like a storm, the lion threw himself between Tabo and the oncoming elephants. His body, low, his fangs bared, his mane whipping in the wind, he let out another bone-shaking roar. The elephants slowed, confused, startled by the lion's fury. One of them trumpeted and moved forward, but Assani stood his ground, snarling, dodging, roaring. He danced through danger, a blur of courage and instinct, long enough for Tabo to escape. From a safe distance, Tabo looked back, his heart in his throat. The mighty lion, battered but unbowed, stood as the elephants turned and finally retreated. Then, as the tension broke, Assani collapsed. Tabo raced. To him, tears streaming down his face. Assani's eyes fluttered open. He was alive, but barely. With everything he had, Tabo lifted the lion into his vehicle and sped to the park's vet station. The news spread like wildfire. A lion had saved a ranger's life. Assani had only bruises and deep exhaustion. But during recovery, every time Tabo approached, the lion would lift his head. Their bond was still there, unshaken. In the months that followed, the story of Tabo and Assani became legend. Tourists came from around the world. Conservationists wept hearing of their loyalty. Schools taught it. Elders retold it by firelight. When Assani was finally released, he returned to the wild, but never disappeared. Tabo would catch glimpses, on hilltops, under trees, in shadows, always watching, and every time he did, he'd smile, because he knew he was never truly alone. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to The Kind Paw. We'll bring you more unforgettable stories about courage, connection, and the wild beauty of our planet. See you in the next video.